I should do here. What's my first step of what I should do? Even looking at your survival guide notes, what's the first thing that I should do? Subtract 5x, right? We need to get solved for y. And so the first thing I'm going to do, just like if it were an equal sign, is subtract 5x on both sides. When you get that, make sure to not drop your negative. You should get negative 3y is less than or equal to negative 5x minus 50. Then, who could raise their hand and tell me, Fernando, what do I do next? You gotta flip the sign. Why do I have to flip the sign? That negative coefficient. If this was positive, I wouldn't have to flip it. But because I'm dividing by a negative coefficient, I know I would flip the sign. And so you end up getting y is now, who can read this? Y is what? Raising your hand. Fernando. Perfect. Greater than or equal to. And when we reduce it, remember, you can put it in the ND in your calculator, or we know a negative over a negative is a positive, plus 5. So who got that far? Raise your hand. Awesome. So now we're going to graph it. So who can raise their hand and tell me what's the next thing that I'm going to do? Good. Where would I graph that by?
On the y-axis.
Perfect. So I plot my b, which is 5. Then I know my slope is positive, but if I go up and to the right, it would be somewhere over here, right? And so I know that I need to have a line that's going up. So I'm going to go down and to the left. That way it would still be positive. So I'm going to go down 5 and to the left 3. And that way it would still be positive, like that. Now,
So you can't go up or down.
yeah, so if you can't go one direction, you go the opposite and then always go left. So like if I was going down and I couldn't go down anymore, I would go up and to the left. It's just if there's a negative coefficient, see how there's a negative number attached to y? Once you divide that, if there's a negative number next to y, you know that sign's going to flip. If this was positive, then it wouldn't flip. I know you're thinking of like teaching fractions. Just think if there's a negative buddy next to y, you know it's going to flip. And so then the next thing we learned, we need to figure out, is it dotted or solid? And so see this line right here? This is telling me make it what? Solid. So I'm going to make sure to keep this solid. If there was no line underneath it, I would make a dotted line because it wouldn't include any of those solutions. Last thing is I put my little man on here. Here's my little man. And since y is being eaten, would I shade above or below? Above, right? So I'm going to take whatever highlighter, color, pencil, whatever you want to do, and I'm going to shade all this above. And so y is being eaten, I shade above. And a lot of people are like, Miss K, why are you being so extra with the shading? God bless you. That's because all those shaded regions are your solutions. Just like if I said, Christopher, if x is greater than 10, give me a number that could be x. Greater than 10. 11, sure. Jalen, give me another one. 12. Zilly, give me another one. 13. What about 1,000? What about 100,000? Is that bigger than 10? So there's a lot of solutions that are bigger than 10. That's why when we have inequalities, there's more than one answer. And so the next part says, name one solution. And so this, all you're doing is you're finding a point that's in the shaded region, or it could touch the line because it's solid. So even if I did this point right here, -5, 0, that would be a solution because it's in the shaded region. How do you check your work to make sure you're right? Plug it in. So I could plug in -5 for x and 0 for y and make sure that it's less than or equal to -15. If it is, I know that I shaded correctly. So does that make sense, finding a solution in the shaded region? So even if you picked this point, which was 1,6, that's, or -1,6, that would still be correct. Any of these points that lie, even these ones that lie on the line, any points in here are solutions. Sound good? We're going to be practicing with this a little more because now we're doing 2 of these. So you're going to fill this in, this your notes. Now you can see we're going to go from 1 to 2. And so fill in those notes right here. This is where it can get confusing because there is a lot of shading. You didn't get them either? Okay. Okay, raise your hand if you didn't get these. Wow, I forgot a lot of people. Sorry, guys. So make sure you're filling in these notes. Anyone else need the notes for today? No? This one you may also want 2 colored pencils because we are going to be shading, or you can use highlighters. But it is pretty hard to do it in pencil. Maybe you guys can tell that you may want to use 2 colored pencils if you want. There's colored pencils up here too, or highlighters. Or use the color pens. The solution we're shading, and wherever it's shaded by both is your solution. Okay, so first step, what I'm doing is exactly what we just did on the 2 now. You're rearranging both equations to get y by itself. So go ahead, see if you can try that on your own. Maybe do it in pencil in case you mess up, but you're going to rearrange these 2 equations to get y by itself. And so if you do need extra room, that's why you might want to glue it in first so that you can go on in your notebook. So you're rearranging these and getting y by itself. So see if you can do those 2 on your own, and then I'm going to go over it with you. But the biggest problem I see is going from standard to slope intercept. So I want to make sure we got that down. Anyone else want to calculate while I'm over? The first thing we're doing is rearranging to get y by itself. Sorry, Christopher, did I miss you? Okay. Rearrange both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first one. So first, who can explain to me step by step how I would go about this? Beautiful. Subtract 4x from both sides because I want to get y by itself. And you would rewrite it as positive 3y is greater than negative 4x minus 6. Then what would you do? Divide each term by 3. Does the sign flip? No, because that 3 isn't negative. So I would end up getting y is greater than negative 4 over 3x. Yeah, good. Minus 2 plus negative 2, same thing. And so this would be my first equation, or my first inequality. Who got that? Or was on their way to getting it? Beautiful. Next one, what would I put right here next to the x? The 1, right? So we're going to subtract 1x on both sides. This shouldn't be anything very new. and I get negative 3y is less than or equal to negative 1x minus 9. Then what do?
You divide.
We divide by negative 3, and because we're dividing by a negative coefficient, what happens to the inequality sign? It flips the other direction. So you end up getting y over here. And what's a negative divided by negative? Positive. And over here, positive 3. Now I'm going to have that be blue. Who got that one or was on their way to getting it? Beautiful. So now all you're going to be doing is graphing these. So first one, I'm going to start with this guy over here. So I know right here my y-intercept is what? Negative 2, right? So I'm going to plot negative 2 right there. Then I know I'm going to go down because it's negative 4 over 3.
So
But see how it won't fit? And so you're going to go the if you ever can't fit it, you go the opposite direction and to the left. And so instead I'm going to go up 4 over 3 to the left. That way it will still be a negative slope. Now, is it a dotted line or a solid line? Dotted, because see how there's no line underneath that? I know it's going to be a dotted line. It's not going to include any points on it. So it's going to look something like this. And then when I shade above or below that line,
below.
but y is being eaten. So y is being eaten is greater than, right? So I'm going to draw my little man right here. And I'm going to shade above its head because y is being eaten. So I'm going to take my first color. I'll use the crayon here. And I'm going to shade above its head.
How do you know if it's below, like you said?
If this sign, if it looks like this, if it was facing the other direction, see how this ends up flipping? But if it was this way, you would shade below. Because it would be less than. Then you would do the exact same thing with the second inequality. So we did it with the first one. Now you're going to do the exact same thing with the second inequality. So the y-intercept for the second one is what? Positive 3. So I'm going to plot 3 right here. Then my slope is 1/3. So would I go up or down?
I will go down 1.
But if it's positive, which direction am I going to go? Oh, it's all right. But up or down if it's positive. Up, right? So if this was negative like that one, I would go down. And so since it's positive and I have to fit it, I would go up 1 over 3. You will want to continue it, so you can go down 1 and to the left 3. 1, 2, 3, good. Would it be a solid line or a dotted line? Solid, because this is saying make it solid. So I'm going to do a solid line like this. And I'm going to draw my little man right here, or right here. And if y is being eaten, would I shade above or below?
Above.
Above. So I'm going to take my second color and shade above.
Oh, you say
Yeah, the whole thing. Now, see the little tie-dye part, the part that's colored by both colors? That is your solution. So all these points in here, not including the dotted line, because that doesn't include those points, this right here would be considered your solution.
So what would you put?
So they would most likely on here, they would either do it as multiple choice and say which represents a solution, or they would say what point represents a solution. So just like what we did on the do now, find a point that's in the shaded region. You guys can find whichever point you want. So if you guys want to use, and you can even use one that falls on the dotted line. I'm going to use this one, and that one, my x is 0, and my y is 4. So you're finding one in the tie-dye region. If you don't want to use 0, 4, you can use whichever one you want.
So for the solution is 5.
Yeah, so you're just shading and circling the area. That means every one of those points would work. They're solutions. And so how I want to make sure I'm right, that I shaded the right part, is plugging it in. So I'm going to rewrite those equations. So I have 4x plus 3y, right? This is greater than -6. And over here, I'm going to write the original equation in case I made a mistake. So now instead of x, what's your x coordinate here? 0, right? So instead of x, I'm going to put 0. What's your y coordinate here? 4. And so remember when we did this yesterday? And you're seeing if it is true. So let's try this first one. Let's see if it's true. So you can type this right into your calculator, like 4 parentheses 0 parentheses, like type this whole thing, or you can do it in your head. What is 4 times 0?
0.
Plus, what's 3 times 4? What's 0 plus 12? 12. And even if you put it, you're more likely not going to make mistakes if you put it in your calculator. Is 12 greater than -6? Yes, so I know it works for this one. I need to make sure it works for both of them. Because we're going to be doing equations too, it has to work for both of them. Yeah. So now let's try this one. So instead of x, what was my x that I'm using? 0. And instead of y? Good. So plug that in. 0 for x, 4 for y. And when you can either put it right into your calculator, like for 1 parentheses 0 minus 3 parentheses 4, or you can do it by head. What's 1 times 0? Minus 12, negative 12. And so sometimes people mess up with that. That's why you may want to use a calculator. Now, remember, negative means I'm out that amount of money. So is being out $12 worse than being out $9? Yes, so I know this is correct. So I know that point is a solution since both of these work. And to that, you don't need to do this every single time, but I would definitely do it to check your work. Like if you're on a check for understanding or a quiz or anything like that, always take a point and figure out if it works. Even when you're looking at like your packet for today, see how it looks like this? Like these are the type of multiple choice questions you would see. They would look like this. And you can even take a point that's in the solution and see which one of them works, right? So you can always take one point that's in each of the solutions and figure out which one works for both, and it helps you eliminate. So even if you don't remember how to do this, it's easier to just do it by hand. But remember, on your milestone, it's going to be on a computer. So you can either do it like shading in your head, or you can take a point that's in each of them. So you could say, okay, first of all, this has a dotted line. I know one has a dotted line. So see how this one should be dotted, this one should be solid. I know right away that there shouldn't be 2 that are solid. So right away, I know that doesn't change. It's got to be between these 2. This is our test taking thing again. Then I would choose like one point over here. So you can choose like this point. You could choose like, I would do something on the x-axis actually. So use 1, 2, 3, 0. And over here, use -3, 0. And when you plug it into both, see which one works.
You plug it for y, right?
So plug in 3 for x and 0 for y. And figure out which one works. So for example, if I put -3 and in for x and 0 for y, what's 0 plus -3? -3. Is -3 greater than 2? No. And so do you see how you can use process of elimination? So I know that one's probably it. But I want you to understand, like, conceptually why each of these. And so we're going to go to one last thing for today, and that's going to be word problems. And so a lot of us kind of struggle with that. So we're going to go to this one right here. And so this is actually one from the New York milestone last year. So this is a type of question that you'll see. This unit is the most prominent on your milestone. So like those open-ended questions, those annoying ones, some of you have took it before. This unit is the main one that's on my milestone. So can I have a volunteer read this out loud? Go for it.
Edits purposes for like hours, a week after school at a job that pays $4 an hour. She has accepted pays $8 an hour as a library assistant. Working Y hours a week, she will work both jobs is able to work no more than 15 hours a week. Due to school commitments, Elliot wants to earn at least $80 a week working in combination with both jobs. Write a system of inequalities that can be used.
Beautiful. So how many people look at that and are like, whoa? Because I'm right there with you. I am one of those people. I'm not a reader. I'm not a comprehender. So if you used to take me when I was in high school and we had to read a book, I had to read a page over and over and over and over again to comprehend like what was going on. So if you're one of those people, that's why I break this down so much, because I was one of those. And so the first thing you want to do is identify X and Y. So even if they don't give it to you, you're gonna you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna make X this and Y that. But in here they give you X hours. What does X represent? Hours doing what? Babysitting. So the first thing you're going to do is identify, okay, X is going to stand for my hours babysitting. So first thing we're going to do is identify what X and Y are. If they don't give you X and Y, whatever comes first in the situation is what you're going to put for X, and whatever comes second is what you're going to put for Y. So first thing, identify your X and Y. Y stands for what? Accepted a job that pays $8 an hour. What's the second job? Library assistant. So we know that Y is the hours. I spelled hours wrong. Working as a library assistant. Cool. Does that make sense so far? Cool. Second thing you're going to do is recognize money goes with money goes with money. Say it with me. Money goes with money goes with money. Beautiful. So how much money do they earn an hour for babysitting? 4, right? And so I know I'm going to start with my money equation. $4 per hour babysitting. So I know I'm starting with money, money, money. $4 an hour of babysitting. Then, how much money being a library assistant?
8.
8, right? $8 an hour being a library assistant. Then we look, and what other money is in this scenario? What other money do we see in here? $80. So I'm going to put that as my money over here. At least $80 a week. And so if I want to make at least $80, if I made $1, would I be happy?
No.
If I made $1,000, would I be happy?
Yes.
Yes. So what sign raising your hand would I put right there? Go for it. Greater than or equal to. So this was on your quiz yesterday. Some of you guys put greater than. Some of you guys put less than or equal to on that check for understanding yesterday. Make sure at least. Always think of the situation. So that's our first inequality. The second one is total. And so sometimes these will change. Sometimes they'll give you a situation where like I bought 2 pairs of pants and 1 shirt for $15 and I bought this and that for that amount of money. But this example you can see it's not like that. It's one situation and 2 different things going on. So we have one situation with money and then the last one is total. So my total amount of hours, not including any money, babysitting, and my total amount of hours doing a library assistant, they want to work no more than 15 hours, right? So I know I'm going to be relating it to 15. If I want to work no more than 15 hours, can I work 24 hours? No. Could I work 1 hour? I could, if it's no more than 15. If I can make all that money in 1 hour, but that's what we're trying to figure out. Can I make all that money in 1 hour? No, right? And so this one would be less than or equal to, and I'll explain, even though we're seeing you're finding solutions, right? You're like, well, if I did 1 hour of one thing, that wouldn't make sense. I wouldn't make that money. That's why we're graphing these to figure out what amount can I do of people. And so I really like this lesson because this is like real life. How many of you guys, when you go into like business or things like that, this is what you use. Like if you're selling stuff and I'm selling this for this much and this for this much, in order to get a profit, I need to get, like if it costs me this much, I need to, like all that different stuff that goes into business, this is all system of inequalities. And so now we got our 2 equations. So now we're going to get started with with getting y by itself. So go ahead at the bottom of the page, you're going to rewrite both equations. So we have 4x plus 8y is greater than or equal to 80. And we also have x plus y is less than or equal to 15. And so I want you to go ahead and get y by itself, just like we did in the notes from today. So you can use your notes. So first thing, in order to graph, you need to get y by itself. So go ahead, try to get y by itself.
For both of them?
For both of them. Yeah, for both of them, you need to move it around. So like putting the 1 there. I'm going to label this. When you're done with it, you might want to label that. So right now we're on this page right here, the next page, and you're rearranging them to get y by itself. Okay. This one. So you're rearranging both these just like we did in the notes from today. Because we can't really graph unless we have y by itself. When you're done, label the axes. Okay, so for this, first thing you should have done was subtract 4x on both sides and get 8y is greater than or equal to negative 4x plus 80. Then what do you do? Divide. Does the sign flip? No, because are we dividing by that negative Nancy, that negative coefficient? No. So I'm going to divide each term by 8. Now, when you reduce, this is going to reduce to a different fraction. If we don't remember how to reduce, what did our calculator come to use? ND. So in ND, put negative 4 on the numerator and 8 on the denominator, you get negative 1/2 plus 10. Beautiful. And so this is my first inequality. The second one, you only need to do one little switch, which is subtract 1x on both sides. And you should have gotten y is less than or equal to negative 1x plus 15. If you divided by 1, you should have still gotten 2. You don't have to do that. Now we're going to graph them. So we're going to start with the red one. What's the y-intercept for the red one? 10. So we're going to go up here and make sure you guys have labeled these. And I'm going to start at 10 right there on my y-axis. And so these are examples. This is New York Region's old test. It's saying their milestone. So these are the type of problems that you probably will see on your milestone. And so I start at 10. And then am I going down or up if it's negative? Down, right? So if this is negative right here, any of this, I'm always going down. You could go up and to the left, but you actually couldn't on this, right? Because it would go off the graph. So I'm going to go down 1 over 2. So start doing that. Down 1 over 2. And you have to do each one. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Keep going. Don't draw a line through it yet, though. Here, all the way there. So I'm just going down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Now, since there's a line through it, is this line going to be solid or dotted? Solid, because this is saying make it solid. So you're going to now draw a line through it. Like that. And then when I'm looking right here, y is being eaten. So would I shade above or below? Above, right? So I'm going to go up here and draw my little man. If you need that, if you don't have to draw the man. Which one? Yeah, all above. So when I draw my man, I want to make sure I know what above is. And so it's above his head. So I'm going to take my crayon and I'm going to color all above his head. It doesn't need to be perfect. but at least have some color in each little part of it so you know where the solution is. Then you're going to go ahead and graph the second one. So when I go ahead and graph the second one, I start at 15, right? That's my y-intercept. And then I go down 1 over what? Over 1. I know it's going to be a solid line, because there's a line right here. And since y is not being, Christopher, where do I shade? Below. Yeah, down or below. So go ahead and graph that second one. So I'm going to start at 15 to 13, 14, 15, plot at 15, and I know I'm going down 1 over 1. So you're going to go all the way down till you can't anymore. Yeah, because it's -1, it's always just over 1. And it's going to be a solid line like that. And Christopher said I'm going to be shading below. So I'm shading below my blue line, like that.
Do you want the solution to be right there?
The one that's tie-dye. See the one that's tie-dye with red and blue in it? That is your solution. So
I could say 0, 0,11.
yes, and so what that means, 0,11, we defined X as your numbers babysitting and Y as your library hours, right? So if she did just 11 hours working as a library assistant, she would make, it would satisfy both those inequalities. She would be working less than 15 hours, and she would be making at least $80. So any of these points in here, and they can touch the line, any of these points would satisfy that example. So basically, those points show you, remember X we know from above represents your babysitting hours, and Y represents your library hours. So even if she did she couldn't do all 19 babysitting because she would be working more than 15 hours. So right here, she could work any of these jobs just at the library and make her amount. She could do, my X right here is 4 hours babysitting and 9 hours at the library. What's 9 plus 4? 13. It's at 13. I know it's less than 15, and you will end up making greater than or equal to $80. And so that section, all these points that fall in this little slice of pizza right there, basically, are your solutions. Any of those would work. And so that's why we use this a lot in business. It's because, okay, if I'm going to spend this much amount on this, if I'm selling shoes and I'm making this amount and this amount, it costs me that much, and then I'm selling them for this amount and this amount. How much until I make a profit? So this is used a lot, like if you want to go into business economics, you want to have your own business, you need to know how this works. Or else you're going to go bankrupt. You know, all those businesses that kind of fall and crash, those are because they don't understand that like your cost needs to be lower than what you're selling it for. You need to be selling more than you're actually producing, right? Okay. So what you guys are going to do is you can start from the beginning. So that first page, what it is, all it is just practice. So these two right here are practice, just graphing. The next page is practice writing. So just writing the system of inequalities. And then the multiple choice on the back, like these sort of questions, are ones that you would see on your milestone. So using process elimination, like this one says, which one of these would be a solution to that? These are the type of problems, because they're multiple choice, that you're going to see on your milestone. And then here is your 2 question check for understanding questions in your packet. So the first one says, Jaylene is selling bracelets and necklaces at a fair. She could sell at most 50 pieces of jewelry. Bracelets cost $10 and necklaces cost $5. She wants to make at least $100. And so first thing you want to do, what did we say the first thing we do is? What's the first thing you want to do?
See, like,
When we
find X and Y.
identify or find X and Y. So see how X doesn't have, there isn't anything that says X and Y? Always use whatever the first thing they talk about is as X. So if they're talking about bracelets first, bracelets let's put as your X. And see how they talk about necklaces second? Put necklaces as your Y.
X on first one.
Yeah. So when you read the problem, see how when I read it, X comes before Y, and so when I read it, I see bracelets comes before necklaces. If they don't give you what X and Y is, just read it, and then whatever comes first is your X, whatever comes second is your Y. And so the first part is they want you to explain, or they want you to write the two inequalities, just like we did on the practice round. And then the second thing you want to do is find one solution. So what is one solution that could represent this? You don't need to do this because it could be extra credit if you want, but you don't need to do that because you would need a graphic, and I don't provide you with a graph. So if you want to figure one out, like you can figure out, okay, if I sell 2 necklaces, how much money would I get? That can be extra credit, but you don't have to do that. So the first stamp is just writing the inequality.
The second one is just like what it would be.
Yeah, the second one is exactly, number 2 is like, okay, once you write the equations, you know how we graphed it back here,
Yeah.
right here? And so when we graphed it, we were able to see the solution right here. Because the numbers are so small, you can guess, like, okay, if I sell 2 bracelets, let's see if that would work. And so it's almost like a guessing check if you're not provided a graph.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna help you in a second. And then the second one is exactly like what we did this morning. And so these are the 2 questions, and then make sure you state one solution. So state one answer, one point that could be a solution. Does that make sense? Those are your 2, and so if you're not ready to do those 2 yet, do another word problem. Make sure you know how to do it. Like there's one more word problem that's right here. Ooh. This one. So maybe try this one and see that if you can get it. And I have the answer key. I'm going to put it in that desk back there. See if you can get that before you go on to the next one. And so your homework, just in case I forget, you could put in your agenda book now. It's System of Inequalities. So one is like which point is a solution. So it looks something like this. You guys see this? This is like guess and check. So you literally plug this in for X, this in for Y. Sorry, this in for Y. If the first one doesn't make sense, it can't be your answer. So like if I plugged in 12 right here and 6 right here, if it doesn't make sense, I know it can't be my answer. So I would go on to the next point. So you're just plugging in X and Y and figuring out which one works for both of them. The second one, I don't even think you need to rearrange them. Looks like this. And so you're just graphing and finding the solution. So if that's going to help you more right now, you can get your number, whatever number desk you have, and you can start on that Delta Math.